Okay.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to round 2 of our 9th Newcomers tournament. This round we have Epic, Sakuru, I am Carls, and SG. Still Blues here with DT.
Hello.
And we are still on Mars, this time with a power colony.
I've seen this map before, but every time I see it I think it's like a small map. So weird. But never mind that. The prices are high on oxygen and carbon, so you might want to go early solar condensers.
But you probably don't want to rely on solar condensers as a scavenger. Never as good idea as it feels like it should be.
Okay, the water is spread out big time, so you kind of want to lean over to robotic because of that, and maybe go for scientific and rush sand drilling. Let's see what people are doing.
Carls has a pretty decent found. Good access to the iron, right next to a lot of high waters. As an expansive, you can pretty easily grab a bunch of those. Nomad is going to work out pretty well as well. I like the silicon HQ, the iron one is concerning, potentially.
I don't like that he's founding with electronics doubled, but he's going straight into solar condensers, so that might be enough. I think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, it should be a lot of nice early money for him to get to the HQ2 with.
Apex didn't found yet. Is that because he didn't see any location, or was he away?
I mean, he wasn't readied until I asked.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, this map is really tricky.
Yeah.
Only other fund I see, you have to robotic. Just have to, you need to skip water, I guess. Which is going to be horrible, but yeah.
Interesting found by SG. Does have solid access to the iron, good access to aluminum and water. Shipping a lot in the early going, a bit less of a problem as expansive, but maybe will cause some amount of problems. Okay, field didn't start expensive, and silicon is reasonable. But maybe not important enough to go straight away.
What he needs to do is claim the water before someone else claims it, but I guess everyone else is going for the single high ones first, so you should still be safe. Okay, Epic's found it in the middle of nowhere. That's what you never want to do. Always found next to a resource if you can do that, but this map so awful that he might need to do that.
Right, there weren't many resources for him to found near.
He could have found it next to aluminum. That's the only thing. He needs to use
was an
claims.
option, maybe like a robot next to the high water, or scientific next to the triangle of lows up there. Nothing is good at this point. So
I like what Nomad doing is going into free electronics. He needs to do that to upgrade, and I think he will be fine with this. He's struggling with aluminum, but it's still cheap-ish, I guess. But next HQ he should get one. He should also buy a claim and maybe use that for aluminum.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good idea. No one is producing a lot of aluminum right now. Carls doesn't have any. Saberman SG could have a lot of aluminum, but choosing not to, no particular reason to. Okay, Kuru is actually going for double medium aluminum now, right next to SG's base. It's going to be a lot of aluminum, it's also going to be a lot of shipping.
I like what SG is doing. He's ruining his Geo, and that's such a like old school move, and he's also going into class. Like his whole base screams this is old school, but it's working.
Right, and I think it makes a lot of sense in a game like this. Power's rising, it's going to be very important. This is probably the most important to protect.
With this power colony and power going so up, you need to defend your power.
Glass is maybe something I'm mildly concerned about. Could pretty easily be food or something of that nature. And the silicon quarry could probably be turned back on now that you're using glass, but that's all okay. In fact, a lot of buildings off early on. Maybe a little concerned about the fuel costs, but not having the stockpiles to go along with that concern.
I really like I am Callis base. He has like 2 high waters, there are no nukes on, so that should be enough for a while. He has Geo, 2 steel, 2 reactors making some money. It's like he's setting up for the future.
Right, there are a lot of things that are nice with this base. The main thing I'm concerned about is that he doesn't have any aluminum claims. And I think that's a lot of what's keeping him back at HQ2. That $80 aluminum price is just a lot.
Yes, but I see so much aluminum coming to the Nomad now. Like,
yeah,
look at
if
the
a crew starts selling that down, then that'll help a lot. But until that happens, Carl's is kind of stuck.
He probably wants to steal one of the or buy a claim, but claims are rather expensive for him.
Right, he doesn't really have the income to support the claim buy. HQ3 probably is the better option, but it's gonna be some trouble finding. Don't.
SG is mutinying the right tile, not mutinying the tile that got mutinied. He's rather going for the tile that's not free to mutiny. Yeah. And that's way we'll get more aluminum in the.
Yeah, it does open him up to the mutiny from Akuru onto the high, but not a big deal. Right now, aluminum's already trending downwards. It should be fine for the most part.
That is way too cheap.
Yes.
Oh, it's really high. You don't want anyone to have circuit overload for so high. Except if you think you're so far behind, then you know that you're not getting targeted.
Even then, being able to choose who does get targeted is a big deal. Circuit overloads, not as devastating as freezes a lot of times, because they don't prevent you from using those tiles. They can still produce things, but they last a very long time, and if you're unable to produce power, that can just end the game over to someone else. Right now, Akuru definitely doing a good job making power money off of these 2 geothermals.
I don't agree with this splashy dome yet.
Power is still too high, but it is making solid money, it is profit, and there is this patent lab up, so virtual reality will be an option. In general, Pleasure Dome is a very good idea in a game like this. Expansives produce the 2nd highest entertainment demand of any faction, only behind Elite, and it just means that this is going to be a good building as we go forward in the game.
Expansive HQ has been upgraded.
I see already HQ level 5 first. It's a lot of guns, he's going into more water, he probably needs more power.
Also,
Probably the only thing he can do is solar panels, but we will see.
It is a bit of a dangerous upgrade. Akuru does have a lot of money on hand, could threaten the majority buy out there.
And if I was a crew, I would buy him. It's the right thing to do.
Definitely the main threat in this game, and it always feels good to knock out an expansive, which stronger late game faction than a Nomad would be. Instead, choosing to go into this awful market.
It's hologram, so it might pay off. He should go for thinking machine, because look at this black market, it's just a lot of danger.
Right.
Dynamite, mutinies, that's going to be horrible.
I would also hope he goes for a Goon Squad.
And don't use a boost for that, because that will only... no one is going for that?
That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, could just be lack of attention to spare, could be something else. I am not quite sure. Anyway, at this point, water has been rising pretty consistently through the game. That is a problem that I think we anticipated with the way water was distributed. No one really with a plan to deal with that quite yet. The crew going into 2 optimization centers might be able to optimize water a bit, which should help with the second high water getting picked up. Everyone else probably has to look for slant drilling or something though.
And you think everyone should have rushed slant drilling? Except maybe SG, because he has 3 water claims, which should be enough if he upgrades a little bit.
Yeah, it is definitely a bit of a problem that SG right now is starting this push into Akuru's stock. In some ways Akuru is vulnerable with that off-world market going up and whatever, but he does still have the money to defend, and SG doesn't have any of the long-term investments that Akuru has.
Yep.
So tying up the money now is just kind of entrenching his
He's just wasting his money now. He should be investing.
right.
It also only invites like black market effects on him, so that this move is... I don't agree with it.
It's a good way to scream, hey, I am your main opponent. Anyway, we talked about the crew potentially picking up virtual reality. Instead, Carl's picks it up instead. Has 2 pleasure domes down, making $300 a piece. Some very, very good buildings.
Yep. Getting 2 pleasure domes is the right move, with like 3 expensive on the board. It's also going for that pattern. It's fine. Okay. Impedes. We didn't talk much about epics yet.
Yes. Getting onto the board very late. The iron and the steel definitely were a solid way to start the game. I think he was hurt a bit by Carl's also just being very heavy on steel, keeping that price low. Meant epics just didn't have money from anything else. Eventually picking up this low aluminum helps him move along the upgrade path a bit, but the single low is a bit slow and just difficult.
He was just too late. He only has 1 high water, that's not going to be enough. Might get slant if he goes for a pen lab, but he's already getting got by the Nomad.
Right. Don't love the buy from Akuru onto Epics either. Epics, like we were talking about, his base isn't set up well for right now or for the future. It's not an investment that's really going to pay off in any meaningful way. It will be a bit of a stock price boost, but against 2 expansives you need to leverage your early lead better than that. Especially when you're already getting piled into by SG.
This situation, you buy 1 person and you black market item the other person while leaving the person that is not going to win ever alone.
Just another quick note about epics. Besides the late start to the game, it was just a point to HQ2, where it's a single farm here and a single electronics factory. Without the adjacency, neither of those buildings was making any meaningful amount of money, and that contributed a lot to stalling out on HQ2 and falling into a lot of debt. Debt sometimes has to do with not producing life support or powers. Sometimes it's also just you're not upgrading fast enough. And you can't do it.
So Akura just bought a hologram, used it on the silicon, and it's still silicon tile. He's probably going for another off-world market in 3 seconds when this launch goes off.
Should be it. Well, I guess he decided the EMP was more important than the second off-world, but it should be coming down shortly. Off-world's still very solid, should do a lot for him, but also, yeah, he's probably fine actually. SG, again, just never getting into any advanced buildings this game, which means that he hasn't been a realistic threat to Akuru, just haven't been able to make enough money.
Okay, I see a big problem, and only one player is doing it, right? If I look at the prices, I see chemicals 406, and I only see I'm Carless go into chemicals like 3. If you upgrade that, you will make a lot of profits, like above 1k per second.
Right. Like,
It's going to be nice.
Akuru and Carlos both going into water and food optimizations. Akuru also a little bit into glass, which are important. They made a lot of sense in this game with how difficult water was as a market, but like DT was saying, with this many optimization centers down, with chemicals already just this expensive, there is a lot of room to make money in there and help keep things flowing more smoothly by optimizing and producing chemicals.
This is why I like to go robotic on this map, because you need 1 water, put the solar panel next to it, and your water produces 3 water at that moment. You only need like 2 reactors and 2 or 3 chemicals next to it, and then just start upgrading. You don't need farms, you're not consuming life support, and win through that way.
Right, definitely a huge advantage to robotic. You're able to just use the robotic adjacency to make difficult resources work for you. You don't need to commit as hard into a market to have that solid adjacency bonus really helping you out.
The black market.
Anyway,
I still think the Nomad is going to take it.
Yeah,
It's
this-
awful top.
got off to too big of a lead, and SG was never able to be enough of a threat. If SG were able to survive a bit longer, Carlos, with this nice second offload coming up, with some pretty good investments, could have the time to catch up, but just a little too far behind early on to really make that happen.
If I look at SG, I see so as early on already. I think that was the biggest mistake of SG. Committing into so heavy glass that he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, the silicon claim super early into early glass, I think, are things that just didn't make a lot of money for him and slowed him down relative to where he could have been with more power or more life support.
He's hacking shorting chemicals, which might be a mistake because everyone is in chemicals and some have it upgraded already.
Shorting steel now, but yeah, before chemicals, definitely not a great play. Carlos can just take advantage of that quite heavily, and Akuru is auto-selling through that as well.
Optimization routine.
He's in the glass market, he's the only one in glass market, so he should have been shorting glass if he wants to do anything with glass,
Right,
which he
glass
is doing.
and steel both make some sense. I guess the sub is in a single. It's not really enough to register.
Yeah, only 80k from buying SG Akuru is.
Mm-hmm.
And all these hacks. Wow.
Off-world chip
Carlos ends up picking up thinking machines.
involvement, money.
Definitely very nice to protect these two off-worlds, but yes, still just too little.
Yes, it's too late.
What a payout.
Could be doing a little more to help himself get back into things with this black market. Plenty of cheap things. I guess he picked up the claim just now.
The engineers have advanced our
Curious to
production.
see what he
Yeah.
does with it.
You should be thinking of yourself, like, why is this Nomad making a lot of money? You see, like, on the black market, there are holograms on the market, so you could assume he has those holograms, so what you do is you buy those spies and, like, put that
Search.
spy down on the area and keep attacking him if you find anything special.
Right. Unfortunately, it can be very difficult to figure out where the holograms are. Even with spies, there are a lot of potential locations, and there isn't a great rule of thumb to be following with that.
Akuru should sell out of himself, because I think tiebreakers are time-based. Should be finishing this.
Tiebreakers are based on the FFA ranks, and past that
Was
are
it?
time-based.
Ah, okay.
So he should be fine doing what he's doing. It is a safe play. Also should mention that at some point Akuru did return those 2 aluminum claims over there. So that was just a decent use of the Nomad advantage. Getting that quick aluminum to get him upgraded to make a bunch of money, and then just taking those back after they were necessary.
This is Funny Town. There's a line of buildings.
Congratulations. Black market is
Yeah.
online.
Okay. Auction
Sure.
from the player.
If I look at the claim spot from the black market, I am Colors bot 4 and Akuro bot 3. You can see that they are fighting between each other
Successful off-world shipment.
now, but it's a little bit too late for him, Colors.
Successful.
Yeah, just not having that early aluminum came back to bite him a lot.
But I must say, it was well played by everyone. Epics couldn't really do anything with this map. When you're like founding last, it's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I said you should found next to a resource till it's done, but what he did with it is still fine in my opinion.
It's generally an okay location to be, especially as expansive. You can kind of get away with being in the middle of a bunch of things if there's no better option.
Off-world shipment launched.
Could make an argument for founding in that aluminum patch or something, but it's not a big difference either way. Just always going to be very hard to make a late found on a map where there is no good fourth found
Time to start
work.
improving everything.
Well done to Akuru. Largely off of that power play, doing a very good job of recognizing that power was high, that no one was producing quite enough power. Like SG and Carlos were both just barely breaking even. So being able to take advantage of that, make a lot of that money, speed on through to off-worlds and stuff.
He made like 100k power money early on. Not a lot in water. Look at the water tab, that's insane.
That is indeed insane. 500k off of water.
We already said water is important on this map. And he got 2... How many did he get?
2 highs, then eventually slant drilling.
Yep.
And a lot of optimizations. Slant drilling probably could have come a lot earlier. I forget what exactly Akuru did with the patent lab over here. I know there was...
Teleportation first, I think.
And then nanotech, and I think he scrapped out of it, and then later
Yeah.
went into slant drilling.
And slant drilling was really late.
Right. Slant drilling definitely probably should have been a higher priority. Thinking machines could have been pretty important as well. Carbon scrubbing maybe doesn't feel quite as useful with a dry ice map, but that was staying stubbornly high. Virtual reality, definitely something we pointed out as well. How much did Carlos make off of entertainment? 405k. Definitely cannot underestimate that building in a game with many expansive